Hi, hey, I am Cal Rooks from Seattle, Washington. I have put on some videos publicly since May 29th of 2012, a year after I had my first ideas. It seemed to me something that could very well be the theory behind wind vortexes that we've been looking for, specifically tornadoes and hurricanes. And with it came some ideas on what I thought would actually be able to prevent these two characters in particular by preventing or stopping the conditions, removing the conditions that allow them to form. And so basically I'm going to go through a couple of things and start off where it's with actually hurricanes, because I hadn't got on video anything really regarding the model that I early on developed last year, or actually the prevention techniques. Those were all in emails that I'd sent to NOAA. So basically what I've stated is just the idea that occurred to me on May 29th was just that wind vortexes are actually very similar to the drain that goes down your kitchen sink, spins until the water's gone. And so like right here, if you notice, this looks very much like your kitchen sink bowl or your bathroom sink bowl, and there's the funnel of the vortex going down, if you will. And then if you just take this and you turn it upside down, that actually you have any wind vortex commonly known, such as tornadoes and hurricanes in particular. It's just inverted. The wind is going, or the air is being spiraled and forced up through pressure rather than just gravity. It's pressure that's created, of course, by gravity of cold air on top of hot air. And so, just briefly go into that, there's always cold air above hot air normally, because hot air is heated up on the surface of the earth or the surface of the ocean, and it's trapped under the hotter air that doesn't heat up as much up above it. And so it's kind of held down by a hard to penetrate sometimes layer that's just kind of impeding that. When it gets really pent up and doesn't escape in easier ways, then it can form a vortex that just takes it all up there through a leak, shall we say, a big hole that develops in that cold air, and you get basically a drain of air going up in the sky. So without any more talking about it, I'm just going to read the stuff that I wrote last year, which had a nice little model. And I said, "Dear Dr. Bedard, here's some new work. I believe enough of a plan to evaluate the merit and give it an initial try. The time is now. Can you agree it's worth a chance? I believe this needs to move forward now." So this is a new theory of hurricanes and possibilities for mitigation. This is to be considered as a continuation of ideas presented in video recorded in part 2 on YouTube. Send a link, so don't. Okay, subsequent developed emails submitted to Dr. Bedard of NOAA. If I could just isolate the idea of a hurricane in your minds for a little while, I'll take you through a very lovely analysis, and maybe we can agree on what I believe is an improved and simplified model that is very accurate and useful for us. First of all, stemming from my general theory of vortexes and wind vortexes in particular, imagine we are in a room with a white floor, being the ocean, and over the floor there stretches a very large layer of warm, moist air, and over that there stretches an equally large layer of cold air, and all very nice and still. Now imagine a hole is made in the center somewhere, and that warm air begins to rush upwards and begins to spin due to friction around it. And as it spins, it grows faster and carves out a bigger hole for itself. And the thing grows as much as it wants to because of the great supply it has of both warm and cold air. Now you can imagine that warm air is being drawn into it all around, rushing towards it and being sucked up through the vortex and thrown somewhere up above the cold air blanket. And this thing just keeps growing because the supply is unlimited, it seems, and the pressure down is very great. And in fact, that cold air has to rush down there to fill what the vortex is moving up. So it goes down the center because the vortex is so large there, there's room for it to do so, and the vacuum that is being created, and more is needed, so it rushes down on one side a little more than the other, and that becomes a tailwind. Colder and heavier than the warm air, it begins to push this spinning top along. Notice there's no outside weather needed. And as it moves ahead, this velocity creates the headwind. All the warm air that's rushing into the vortex is rushing more from the front because it's being pushed by the tailwind. So this displacement of air thrown up by the vortex, and this thing is sucking up all the air around it in a hurry. The increased velocity ahead means that more warm air is entering the vortex from the front, and all of this is self-induced. Before we move from this model, let me say that if the cold blanket on top is lighter, the air spins at about, just say 70 miles an hour. And if you have more pressure from more cold air, and the speed increases toward our known limit of about 150 miles per hour or so, and the velocity of our marvelous spinning top does all of these wonderful things, is about 15 miles an hour straight ahead. No weather here, right? No outside weather. Okay, so what might make our little top go faster or slower? Well, let's say the soup is very thick. It might take a little longer to eat it, right? Are you with me so far? It takes a little longer to throw up more air, right? Its headwind is a little more intense maybe. Okay, so 15 miles per hour is all it gets. Now in the case of the fast little hurricane running across the seas at say 50, well, if the soup is thin, he just drink it up. No spoon. Our little top is so worried about running out of warm air that it's just running through what it's got. And he has to move quicker to exist. I mean, it just finishes the job quicker and moves on like he's a busy little guy. So no weather yet, it's not self-induced. Now thickness can mean more moisture, more pressure. More pressure, you get greater wind speed. More moisture, more air, and just more hot air, I think. And it just moves slower. So am I a madman? Yes. Okay. I was just making this stuff up as I went, trying to make a model. Are you with me so far? Okay, so our hurricane has been shown to be a self-contained entity with nothing more needed once it starts than this huge environment of warm and cold air over this relatively nice, level floor of seawater that it so gaily stirs up. If you could picture a person throwing a top that bounces on the floor, it goes merrily on without a thought about you. Better maybe the ones that you place on the floor and then pull a string. The tropical storms and lower gales that pull a string together with their thunderheads and helpful weather that they have completely forgotten and disregarded after this raging thing has grown. So now fold down the white floor around our globe, colored in with continents and clouds and weather, surging seas, and all that it is. And ladies and gentlemen, I give you little H. Please do not be afraid of him anymore. So, no, please do, for I believe I explained him with his tornadoes on the front leading edge in past material. Now, I'll explain that briefly since I haven't in other than emails. Is that actually, if you, from the theory of vortexes being hot air moving up through cold air on pressure, well, that right front leading edge as it's going forward and they're spinning counterclockwise, at least all the ones we've known about, it's going to cut that cold air on the right leading edge of it first. And of course, warm air, there's going to be more warm air, there's a lot of warm air coming in, it's free to rush up there and create tornadoes. So that would be, I guess, at least in hindsight, what you might expect. And if you were going to get tornadoes around hurricanes, that's where they should be. So, and that's the why of why they're there. So, according to this theory, if this theory is correct, and it seems to do just marvelous wonders for explaining what's happening in hurricanes. Okay, so please do be afraid of this guy, actually, because, you know, he bullies most of the existing weather, and I think we need to get rid of this guy with all the damage he does. So, fortunately, I believe there are some very doable ways to control these and even stop many of them. And with that, I will refer to what I've previously written. Oh, and if you do begin to worry about cooling down the air and what might happen with that, like I did a little, well, it'll cool down anyway when the hurricane comes through on us. So I see it as containing little negative side effects. So here's my ideas for prevention.